welcome to Grey Muzzle Geekery for the week of February 24th, 2020, episode 41. I'm Dusty Red, and with me as always,
I'm Dusty White.
And let's get into this week's news. News.
The badass, quippy redhead is at it again, and no, I'm not talking about myself. Wendy's Twitter is up to no good again. The victim this time, Burger King. New Zealand's Burger King announced the Chip Buddy, a pattyless sandwich with the fries topped with mayo and ketchup wedged between two buns. Wendy's Twitter wasted no time throwing shade with such insults such as, when literally anything would be better on a bun than BK's beef. Along with a fellow tweet asked if the Chip Buddy was a joke, Wendy's responded with a joke, their whole restaurant is. What do you think, Red?
I mean, Wendy's is known for not having any chill. I would love to be, I guess, on the wall or dealing with their PR staff, whatever, because you know who they are. Like, it's a risky move to be like, hey, you know what we're going to do with our Twitter feed? Just roast people. But we talked about in the past, Twitter's mean. Twitter likes being mean. So why not lean into it and just be a sassy
redhead?
Use the sassy redhead, use the logo, and just roast people for the attention.
You know what I'm intrigued to find out, and don't know if it's posted somewhere, if it's ran by one individual person or a council of people, or if it's like, you know, the Stig, or the Stig, where it's just somebody that nobody knows who it is.
I mean, I'm trying to think of like a smattering of smartasses, or a whipple of witticisms or something. Like
a council of... I'm not going to say either of those ideas.
Demonetization.
So, what would you think about the Chip Buddy to begin with? Is something you'd be willing to try? I mean, I don't know if...
Like, I get the whole Impossible patty being the craze of, like, it's a meatless patty. They're just going, it's meatless. Like, no, don't give me a bun and some fries and charge me $4.50 and be like, here's the mayo. How more white can you get? Like, no, I'm good. No, it's stupid. And of course, it's, well, I don't say European, but I mean,
well,
the Australians have the queen on their money. They're freaking Europeans.
The article does go on to say that the Chip Buddy or the chip sandwich is something that's known through UK and Ireland, but it's at fish and chip places.
Don't throw the Irish under the bus, yeah, right? Just because they like their spoods doesn't mean you need to throw them under the bus too.
So here's some typical toppings for typical Ireland or UK Chip Buddies.
No, it's malt vinegar and you're done.
It's ingredients such as mayo, ketchup, cheese, hot sauce, and yes, you beat me to the punch, malt vinegar, which is one of my favorite things to put on fried French fries.
Yeah, but you could just get fries, sans the buns, and just dump all the condiments on there. Canada does, and they call it poutine. Like, there's nothing wrong. I like poutine. I really like poutine's the perfect, I don't know if it's a perfect drunk food, but it's a great, like, I'm cold, I need some noms, poutine. Fantastic. But don't try to, I'm going to put mayo on this and put it between two, because it's so accessible. Yeah, it's so easy. Like, you know your first bite into this thing and all the fries are going to be all over the place. You have mayo on your lap, and you have to explain to your neighbor why you got creamy white stuff on your pants. Like, no. Pass. Dumb idea.
So I take it to Ken of maybe I might be sitting on the side of the fence here by myself, but I used to put potato chips on my bologna sandwiches.
Okay, I mean, equating a bologna sandwich to a Burger King sandwich is kind of doing it justice, so I'll give you that much. But really, like, white bread and bologna and some potato chips. Yeah, what kid didn't do that?
Okay,
that was like,
at least as long as I'm not by myself over here.
No, that was a sandwich special. And you got lucky if you got Doritos, because them's the good chips. Ooh, I can get a hot stuffed salami sandwich. There we go, because I loathe myself some more. Anyway, if you don't know what hot stuffed chips are, for those non-regional, see, I'm making regional jokes. Look at that. Suck it, UK. It's basically a potato chip that's just laced with, like,
cayenne.
Yeah, it's cayenne.
It's just cayenne
it's cayenne
pepper.
paprika.
Yeah.
It's both of them.
Whatever. It's It's hot Cheeto just in potato form instead of
But there's no
puffed
cheese.
corn.
But there's no cheese.
Oh, I guess you're right.
Because Cheeto's at least like fake cheesy with like fake heat. This is just like, here's a potato chip, here's some salt, now here's a bunch of cayenne and paprika. Go away. And I love it. Flat Earther and overall daredevil, Mad Mike Hughes, has died on February 22nd, 2020, while filming a stunt for the Science Channel series Homemade Astronauts. Age 64, the longtime daredevil built yet another steam-powered rocket that ultimately led to his death upon launch. When upon launch, the rocket's landing parachute deployed early and detached from the craft.
Ooh.
Less than a minute later, the craft plummeted to the open desert in a full nosedive. What's interesting, though, about this is that the controversy that surrounded Mad Mike, because his claims of doing such was to prove that the Earth was flat. While famous for his flat earther claims, information is trickling in from those who knew him saying that he actually wasn't a flat earther, and that he knew he'd be able to raise more funds from the conspiratorial community. In fact, in 2016, Hughes managed to raise only $310 for a rocket. But later that year, after he professed himself to be a flat earther, he turned around and raised $7,875 for his rocket project. So what do you think, White? Do you think that this is a case where friends and family are simply trying to cover for him and save some face, like the family name? Or was Mad Mike really not as crazy as people thought, and he managed to con the theorists out of a few $1,000s for another wild stunt?
Wow. I don't know what to put to that. Like, it makes sense if you are driven to do experiments and do stuff with rockets to kind of pull those strings and say you're doing research for flat earth to kind of
raise money for it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would like to see where this goes document wise. If you said Mad Mike actually like notated somewhere that he didn't believe, or if it's again like you said, the family just trying to be like, no, our uncle or our nephew is not bat crap crazy.
I mean, and that's why I pulled up this article. I mean, the footage of his death is online.
Ooh.
Like, you see the rocket launch. It gets like maybe 50 feet in the air, and then the parachute deploys and just gets ripped off. And then you see the craft, to say whatever it is. It's not really a spaceship. It's just a rocket.
Right.
Gets sent up, and the camera crew stays on it, and then it just kind of flips and does a nosedive right into the desert. Just boom.
Ugh.
Obviously, they pronounced him dead on the sea and everything else. So, obviously, it's a tragedy. Like,
call it for what it is.
Loss of human life and doing experiments. And it wasn't even, in this particular instance, wasn't to make the claim that the Earth was flat, but rather it was for the Science Channel doing their Homemade Astronaut series. Because, I mean, technology and just people willing to do crazy things.
I mean, we have a car in space somewhere.
So, what I found interesting about it, though, was the fact that Mad Mike Hughes always went around and was saying, "Oh yeah, flat earther. I wanna." I'm sure you remember. That kind of jogs your memory a little bit. Last year, he was saying, "I'm gonna build a rocket and prove that the Earth is flat." He was able to raise $7,800 to make his steam-powered rocket, which in of itself just makes me cringe. But so he made a steam-powered rocket, went into not even low orbit, just got some. I think the highest he went was 1,000 something feet into the air. So he's getting there.
Yeah.
But to turn around and say, "Hey, I want to make this rocket," and he gets $300. Then turn around and go, "I want to prove that it's flat Earth," and all of a sudden $7,000. Like, is the almighty dollar willing to let you play that game, or do you believe that because of the money he actually changed his view on things and went, "No, you know what? Maybe the Earth is flat."
I'm just blown away by this topic. I use quotations and say I've met a flat earther. I don't think this person actually believes the crap that comes out of his mouth, but kind of like this person sounds like he's doing, is he's wanting to just say it because
It's interesting.
it's an interesting viewpoint, and it gets people's, ire up. And
So you mean to tell me the Earth isn't flat?
I'm not going into this.
What if it's like cylindrical? Oh, it's cubical. You start off at Cuba, see cube,
You already believe that we're on the back of a sea turtle and 4 elephants.
The great
so
Atun. All hail the great Atun.
what does the Guinness Book of World Records, mental health, and planking all have in common? Well, George Hood, a 62-year-old badass Naperville, Illinois native, can tell you. On February 15th, George Hood regained his title, yes, I said regained his title, of longest time in the abdominal plank position held by a male at 515 Gym. The record now sits at 8 hours, 15 minutes, and 15 seconds.
Fudge that.
Even more admiring than that, George went on to promote the gym 515 Fitness as a gym that helps address mental illness through exercise and professional help. As a former U.S. Marine and retired DEA agent, George knows the struggles that former military people go through. He trained for an average 7 hours a day leading up to the challenge. What do you think?
I could barely stand being at work for 8 hours, let alone planking. Is he running TV shows or anything? Does he just sit there and watch all the Harry Potter movies in a row or something?
Actually, he talks about listening to Van Halen and Rammstein, Du hast.
It's Rammstein.
Thank
How
you.
dare you? Leave this room. Away with you, woman.
He would get to the point, he says it in the article, he gets to the point that he turns it up so loud that he feels like a rock star and just powers through it. He says his body goes through the same kind of things that a marathoner would go through.
Yeah, you go through varieties of, I don't say shock, but your body
Aches and pains and then numbness.
Your body's just what are we doing? This is what we're doing. I guess this is our life now. It has no concept of time. It just knows we're doing this. We're doing this. We're still doing this.
He would go to do 4 to 5 hours a day in the plank position, 7,000 push-ups, 500 leg squats, and over 300 arm curls. And that's essentially his training for every day.
And he's how old?
62.
Yeah, I'd be happy to be able to wipe my ass without help at 60. So
His next goal is to try and beat the world record holder for most arm curls in an hour. Or, I'm sorry, actually, most push-ups in an hour of 2,800.
Yay. The friends don't let friends skip leg day, though. So, when's he doing some squats? Let's go, Grandpa.
And he claims he's in the best health he's ever been.
Yeah, sure. He's 62 years old. He's doing all this stuff. I'll take his word for it.
The article ends to say that he could have ended it at any point after 8 hours and 1 minute mark, but again, sustained it for the 15 minutes and 15 seconds to dedicate it towards the gym and the mental health that they provide.
That's super commendable, and as much as I just want to make fun and poke fun and be me about it, it is actually really cool to be able to do things and to raise awareness and recognition and raise money for.
And I just want to talk about the level of escalation, because he originally had the record held at an hour and 20 minutes. Then the last record holder escalated that hour and 20 to 8 hours. So
yeah, how do you go from an hour of planking to you know what sounds good? An hour and a half? Nah. 2 hours? Nah. 8 hours. I'm going to first shift this nonsense. Let's do it. While it's no surprise that I take a rather liberal and democratic view to life, there is one instance, though, where I'll fully support a border wall for the Borderlands. Known for directing horror movies like Cabin Fever and Hostel, Eli Roth is set to direct a film adaptation of the beloved first-person shooter Borderlands. Before poo-pooing all over this project, though, I can say that Emmy-winning screenwriter Craig Mazin, penned the script for the project, and it will go through Lionsgate Studio, which, their stock did fall 2% after this announcement. So another video game movie. Like, it's not being made by Uwe Boll. Uwe Boll. Do you remember him? Yeah, he made some pretty atrocious movies. And that's got to stand for something, right? Like, yay? So video game movies, especially Borderlands. Are you familiar with the Borderlands series?
I know Tiny Tina.
All right, nailed it. That's fitting that you would know that specific character.
And that's it.
I guess stylistically, you think they're going to try any kind of cell shading type techniques to maintain a visual?
Well, I mean, with such improvements with animation and things that have gone on to win Oscars, like Kubo and the Two Strings and things like that, I could see them trying to go for that style, or even just the most recent Spider-Man multi-universe
one.
one.
You go a little bit before that, even Sin City, when they took the adaptation from the comic books, and they kept that black aesthetic with the red highlights and such. So do you see them trying to add maybe something not so dramatic in the cell shading, but still have some level of shading and some level of highlight to kind of at least get the visual aesthetic? Because that's another thing about Borderlands being a good game. It's still a visually, aesthetically pleasing style. That cel-shaded, kind of hard-edged comic book style.
Okay.
Do you see them trying that, or do you see them kind of go away with it and just stick with a kind of desert movie type thing?
I don't know. That's a hard call. I think what would make or break the movie for me would be the writing.
Well, I mean,
art style aside, you can make a beautifully drawn movie or beautifully cel shaded movie,
well, it's going to be live
and have
action.
it still fall flat.
Well, I mean, and again, we're dealing with Eli Roth, who did Cabin Fever and Hostel. So you got the
Which
horror
are
vibes.
Two completely different movies.
Sure, but he's still got the horror movie type vibe. So do you see that eking into the movie? Because they are from what I've read, it's taking place on Pandora. It's taking place on the main planet that a lot of the Borderlands stuff takes place on. So, like,
I wonder if they're trying to go with the horror type edge to it, just because it is kind of a violent game, for the fact that if I remember correctly, you have people that shoot you to heal you.
To a degree. And a lot of it, I mean, it's cartoon violence in a sense. It's a video game. It's a video game. So
but if you're going to
violence.
make it live action, that really doesn't cross-platform there.
So that's why I'm very curious, and if this is going to be a decent or just an absolute dumpster fire, because you're dealing with
dumpster fire would be on brand.
Well, it would be on brand. Good point. So if they have Handsome Jack, I'd be very curious to see who would play that. But if you're dealing with this kind of movie, how much are they going to rest their laurels on the name? I mean, Sonic was kind of a surprise hit.
I hear it's doing well. I mean, it's a kids movie, which obviously something like this couldn't really be geared towards. So you're going to go adult.
So if you're going to gear it towards your mid-20s, the crowd, that's what you're looking for, mid-20s, late 20s?
I would see them probably scaling back some of it and shooting for the sweet spot that is the MMPA, the PG-13.
And that goes back to something like Deadpool, that they needed to stay R. They needed to stay rated R, else it just wasn't going to work. So, I don't know. It's still super early in the announcement. It's still super early in the concepts and stuff. Like I said, Lionsgate's going to be ahead of it.
Which I'm pretty sure was the ones that did the WoW movie, and that didn't do horrible.
Beg to differ. I thought it just flushed itself into the ether.
I saw it. It wasn't awful. Like, it definitely could have been worse. And I'm not the world's biggest WoW fan either, but it was at least entertaining.
Can you say that you weren't wowed?
No.
And that concludes this week's news.
And now we're on to Adventure Awaits.
Adventure awaits! So we just finished our live recording at FurSquared 2020 in Brookfield, Wisconsin. I mean, yay. It was our 1-year anniversary, and if you haven't listened to it, I mean, go back and do it. I think it's by far one of our best, not only interviews, but one of our just best episodes in terms of talking about inclusivity and a, I guess, oft misunderstood subculture. The con chairman himself, let's call for what it is. He's a really freaking easy interview. You came up with some questions, and he just ran with it.
And I really enjoyed interviewing Draggor. I think he's possibly maybe a repeat interview here. I could have
repeat
probably...
interview? I think he's going to be a special guest in the future.
I could have probably asked him a lot more questions. I think he's just a really good representation of the culture and a good ambassador to talk about certain topics. And maybe this next time we have him on, it'll be a little bit more free flowing, as we're in the middle of a con that can be seen or listened to by anybody. Sure. So we have, restrictions, but I really enjoyed interviewing him and kind of picking his brain for a little bit. It was really good.
I didn't know you were being restricted. I was ready just to go. So we will communicate better on that one in the future. I was like, hey, let's just go for it. Let's go into deeper topics and other topics, just because there's so much there. And again, there's so much misconceptions that go with it. And, we get, eventually we're beating a dead horse, a dead horseman. BoJack Horseman. Wait. Anyway, we're just beating a dead horse on this topic just because we're obviously pro furry.
Right.
And for whatever problems that it has, like any group, subculture, subgroup, genre, whatever you want to call it, they've got their issues, be it through just people doing a poor job of representing that group. And unfortunately, due to social media, due to media, due to whatever, they become the poster child for bad behavior. And because they're associated
it gets glorified.
With the group, because they're the Star Wars fan kills 23 people dressed as Princess Leia. Like, well, great. This is now all Star Wars fans are painted as these crazy murderers. So you're just gonna get that. So
to kind of backtrack, let's kind of talk about our weekend in general, since we did our show kind of midway through. It's a 4-day con, so we started on Thursday and go all the way till Sunday evening with the recap of some of the stats that I'll have for you in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But kind of go through our weekend, some of our highlights.
Well, I got there. We got there Thursday afternoonish. We stopped off at a nice little Irish pub.
That was actually really good. That was a nice little find.
What was it again?
Oh,
you can't just think of an Irish pub and just go. You're going to go like O or Mick, and you're going to be 50% right.
I will find it.
You will find it. I will stall. Hello, my baby. Hello, my copyright. Please don't full flag this show. Experiencing technical difficulties. While Dusty finds the name, I will sing more. This will be poor, cause I money thing. And baby, you should find a name real soon.
O'Donoghue's Irish Pub. I knew it was something. I just didn't know if it was like McCanahan or whatever. It's O'Donoghue.
So, O'Donoghue.
Yes.
And it's a nice little Irish pub, and they had the traditional Irish stuff. Like, obviously, pints of Guinness. Yes. But we had Spotty Cow anyway, because, duh. Although it's the, most okayest or overhyped beer.
Yeah. Apparently.
But, I mean, I had shepherd's pie.
Mm-hmm.
You had?
I had actually officially my first Ruben.
Which is kind of weird, but it was tasty.
I had never had one before. It was apparently the Irish Ruben. Because it had extra, I don't know, cheese on it or cabbage. I don't know.
Little cheese, little cabbage, and I thought I had a little horseradish touch to it, too.
Thousand Island.
Okay.
Yep. And it was really good, though. The wings were good.
The wings were pretty baller.
And yeah, we just stopped in for trying to carb load for the
drinking that was going to happen. Which I guess what got weird, because once you got there on Thursday afternoon, I am used to being a helper.
Yeah.
And so you had to kind of wrangle me down from like, okay, I'm here to help, I'm here to do things, when you're like, this year we're not doing that.
I had to make you take a nap, basically.
I'm not a napper though, in fairness, but I managed to steal a nap.
So we got there, we got checked in. Luckily, Brookfield, Wisconsin, Sheridan, props to them. They do a really good job hosting. They take even just this year, they took a lot of pride into hosting and being there for the community.
Well, the fact that we got there at like 1 o'clock and our room was ready.
Yeah.
Even though they're like, yeah, room's ready about 3. And I walked in, I'm like, hey, left field question. Do you guys have rooms ready? They're like, actually, we do. First floor. Here you go. Like, woo!
And let's talk about how big of a game changer being on first floor was.
I mean, the fact that we had a couple panels and then the timing between, if you look at Saturday is really where the game changer for me was. Going from, and I'm skipping ahead, I know, but going from one panel back to the room, changing, doing the parade, then running back, changing again and showering, doing the last touches of our show, and then running back to the secondary stage to get our stuff ready. If we were on the 6th or 7th floor, I probably would have just threw the gear out the window and caught it at the bottom or something.
So, first floor room, great opportunity at the end of a hallway. We basically parked right outside. It was cold because it's Wisconsin in February.
The weather was good up until that point, too.
We've had a mild winter.
It was a mild winter. We got fortunate.
Until, we get the 6 inches of snow tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. As of today, of Monday, we're, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's supposed to be gross. Yay. Yeah. Anyway.
But we kind of got unpacked. We had one of our Patreons actually crashing with us. His first official con.
He messaged me out of left field and just like, hey, I'm not going to be at the main hotel on Saturday. I'm going to be at another one. Am I going to be missing anything? And I'm like, who are you rooming with? He's like, oh, I'm alone. I'm like, you're an idiot. Cancel your reservation. You're crashing with us.
Yeah, you too, Patreon users. If you want to join us, might end up.
We got so much floor space. We're going to have like 15 people outside. Like, my turn to sleep next to the Dusties. I've got a mask of your likeness. Can I sleep next to you? No.
That's a different kind of con.
Murder Con 2021. Woo!
So it was fun. We got checked in, got unpacked. I basically set up for the night to basically kind of entertain ourselves. There's always some panels that happen after registration on Thursday night. You can get your badges kind of when you get there later on in the evening, but they're not necessarily required for most of the stuff on Thursday night.
Unofficially speaking.
Right.
Be careful there.
So it was good to catch up with friends that we don't get to see all that often anymore and kind of just unwind and relax and start our vacation.
Yeah, it's definitely, I used enough PTO for it to count as a vacation.
And props again to the people that did the theming. It was Cyber
Skunk.
So that was fun. It gave me a couple of ideas for props for soon to be LARPing things, but we were able to put our posters up that were made by our other Patreon or other supporter, Travis, who did an amazing job on our artwork. If you guys haven't seen it, be sure to check him out at To Improve Your Day. Mm-hmm. And he did a great job. So we were able to hang those posters up, basically advertising the panel that we would be on for Gray Muzzle Geekery. And then, of course, other panels that Red was on as well. So
you're in Otherworldly Stories too, don't forget.
So it was good to hang those up and kind of, again, just unwind Thursday night, enjoy, and get ready for opening ceremonies Friday.
And then roll into opening ceremonies Friday. They had a lot of new people on their staff for FurSquared this year, which is really interesting to see because this is year number 7 for them. And it was kind of the year of the changing of the guard.
I was going to say, like, the passing of the baton for some of them.
And multiple locations,
yeah, and usually it's maybe, like, 1 or 2, but it was almost across the board.
Ha, 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 get it?
Ha, ha. I didn't even mean to make that one.
Boom. So, yeah, obviously, the one and only Alkali Bismuth, who some people know him as Alkali, some people know him as Dan Mod Dan, some people know him as just Dan. He is the ferret of the Draggor show, and he stepped down. He stepped down from the chairman position and more or less handed it over, unanimous vote, something over to Draggor, who just excelled in that, like, in every way possible. And his mentality, and just knowing him from what I do, like, that is a role he is good at as well. He's very good at handling things. Like, one of the downsides with Alkali is his niceness. And as a con chair, there's a level of niceness that you can't
scatterbrainness. I mean, he had a wrangler for purposes.
He had a zookeeper with them. But Draggor's got definitely I don't say firm because they make it sound bad, but he's definitely got a straight and narrow, like, hey, I'm the chairman of this convention. I need to make sure that
I'm where I need to be when I'm expected to be there, and
the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Correct.
Realistically. So, which is good for Alkali taking his step back and being able to
he's allowed to do more of the things that he wants to do. I definitely saw
Alkali?
him less. Yeah, Alkali. I saw him less stressed. He was hydrating. I even saw him eating breakfast.
I saw him eat twice. Like, he had, like, oatmeal at one point, and then he was eating,
cereal.
Like, cereal. Oh my goodness! I was like, what is happening? But he is a showman.
Yeah,
that is his pride and joy. He likes being a showman. He likes telling stories and doing tricks and turning tricks. No, I'm kidding. He likes just being front of the stage.
Wait. I just want you to take a moment and remember, we know two similar people, and it would almost be opening a hole to an alternative universe if you got Dan and Travis in the same room. Who would outstory who?
Oh, Travis would win. Like, hands down. This is getting real personal with some of our personal friends. This isn't very nice. Alkali will look to tell you new stories. Travis will beat you with the same story if you can't think of another one. Have you heard this one? Yeah? Too bad. Strap in, you're going again. No, I mean, we are, in fairness, we are very fortunate to be surrounded by people who are storytellers, that we surround ourselves with people who have the gift of gab, so to speak, to be able to tell stories, to immerse people in their worlds, be it a funny story that Alkali is playing from a video game, to a LARPing story out in Atlanta where he's running around the battlefield like a madman, and just there's a knack and a talent that these people have that kind of you look and everybody's like fixated. And even if you heard the story before, you're just like, yeah, this is a good part. So we are very fortunate to be surrounded with people like that, and in some ways we learn from them. We see what works and what doesn't. We see what gets somebody's attention and what basically lets them butterfly off. So yeah, having Alkali be less on staff, because even though he's still secret staff, he's still,
he's
hotel liaison. Yeah, exactly. He's the overall liaison,
charity liaison.
But he's kind of one of the de facto go-tos. But because of that free time, he's able to do more panels. He's able to focus on charity work. He's able to do the charity auction and focus on his show with Xander, doing charity stories and charity who's line, and just really charity is his MO at the end of the day.
So we do opening ceremonies, and again, new staff, and actually a lot more hands of their first FurCon being prevalent.
Well, and not only the first FurCon, but a lot of who, like, one of the questions was like, who here, or put your hand up if this is your first any kind of fur gathering, be it, because we've been to fur bowling. Yeah. There's definitely other meetings I've seen. Galloping Ghost here in Chicago, or technically it's in Brookfield, but Chicagoland area has some gatherings and stuff. You'll get the 15, 20 people kind of get together. I like furry, I like it too, okay. But like a lot of hands went up of, this is their first interaction with furs outside of a Telegram chat or a conversation online or a forum or something else. So it was really good to see
the fandom. The explosion. I was going to say the fandom expanding. The
and fandom getting younger.
Yeah, exactly. So opening ceremonies were good. We got basically an early start. Oh man,
By early start, you mean we were drinking coffee?
So I think the first thing up on our docket was Otherworldly Stories on that.
It's 1 o'clock
that Friday.
on Friday.
Yeah, that Friday. And I almost had like this moment at like 10 o'clock Friday morning going, oh wait, it's Friday. That's right. That's our thing.
We have work to do.
So we were able to get up on stage with Alkali himself, and as he it's his brainchild.
Love child, two people. It's ultimately his brainchild. He wanted to tell stories about LARPing, but about D&D and other such like that. That went, hey, these are things that happen to us. And again, we've made
it's kind of the cross-cultural, the overlapping of the communities, because there are a lot of furs that are, again, once you get past, I like foxes too, you've got to find other things to talk about. And D&D and other immersive role-playing games, be it LARP, be it tabletopping, whatever it may be, kind of overlap.
Well, just any hobby in general, because you do have like the car furs and the model train furs and the ham radio furs, and like you have all these people that have a variety of interests that overlap. And so yeah, us as LARPers, as gamers, as people who had interesting things happen to us, got to tell stories about those interesting things. And again, the emphasis being less on the jargon and less on the technicality of like, oh, I have 5 dodges, I have a slay. It's less to do with the stats and less to do with that. More along the lines of, so hey, I'm in the woods looking for my friend and I stumble upon a dead deer. Like stories like that are so grounded in, it doesn't matter what game you're playing. You just, and I actually didn't tell, but one of my creepiest stories is the time I had a super cramp on my leg. And it's early April in Michigan, and I am a good 10-minute jog from the main campsite, and I'm like scouting ahead looking for enemies, and my leg cramps, and I drop. And I'm sitting there in the woods like, oh, this bad. I have no cell phone on me. I'm a good hobble away from the woods. I need to like massage my calf and get my butt back up and hobble back, or else I could be in a little bit of trouble. Like eventually, I hope somebody goes looking for me, but ultimately it's still a case of it's scary moments. Yeah, I'm not alone and lost in the woods forever, but it's still one of those like, oh, this could be bad if nobody like looks for me.
So I actually heard you tell a story that I had never heard before, and that for the fact that we've been friends for some 10 years and been LARPing together.
There's a lot you don't know about me, sweetheart.
You do tend to hear some of the same stories over and over again. So it was interesting, even just sitting there, I got captivated by one of your stories just because I didn't know what was actually going to happen. It was the Kobold birthday party one.
Oh, yeah. And that'll have to be saved for another time. I'm not going to tell it here. And in fact, I think once another one of our Patreon supporters, Silver Gatomon, has his YouTube page.
Yep.
And he uploads videos from the convention. So assuming he ends up uploading that, we'll be sure to jump all over that, post links on Twitter, post it on our Patreon page, post it wherever, on our Facebook page. I might just directly message random people and be like, look at a thing we did!
So it was a good panel. I've always enjoyed it. I've been on it the last 3 years that I've gone.
So it was myself, you, Alkali, Bada was with us, as well as Phelan.
Yep.
Who is also a Chicago native, a really, really good DM, who, which rolls into the next morning, is the charity D&D host, or DM, or guy in charge. And obviously a lot of that is, to sum up, it is we play D&D in front of people, try to be entertaining, people throw money at us for bad things or good things to happen, and then the money goes to Haas for all the puppies and kitties. And do you remember the tally for that one?
That one I think was $800.
It was just shy of $700.
Okay.
And again, that's still a fair sum of money for We're going to watch 5 people sit at a table.
Right.
At 11 in the morning on a Saturday.
After already being at a con.
After a convention going. and I don't want to get the wrong impression that conventions are nothing but drinking. But as an adult, I will partake in a beverage or two and have no desire to be out of bed and performing and functioning at 11 a.m.
I always enjoy watching the charity D&D as a fan of the D&D in general or tabletopping. And you guys, every one of you up there are notorious one-liner type people. You and your genius of turning your bandana around to represent your emo haircut.
But Ma, I'm totally the best hacker in the world, brah.
I love it. And hashtag inspo.
Inspa. Ah, you mess up, you don't have hashtag inspa. Hashtag inspa.
So I really do enjoy watching. It's such a weird thing for me, even though I guess I've kind of always experienced that as being a fan of bowling.
Sure.
I will watch bowling on television. And everybody's like, oh, watching bowling on television is so dumb, blah, blah, blah. I get kind of a thing from watching something that I enjoy doing. And again, you guys are really talented as people that can be thrown onto a stage, kind of been given your character sheet only mere hours or minutes before, and just kind of going, okay, here's what I can do. I'm gonna basically improv role playing. Like, I know I've been on enough tabletop sessions where people have built their character hours and days and weeks ahead of time.
Oh, and they pour their heart and soul into, well, I wanna achieve this, and I wanna go with this vibe, and I wanna feel this, and this is the character. No, I sit down and he goes, this you, have fun. New character, who dis?
You guys do a great job of it and put on an amazing show.
Well, thank you. And it was fun. And again, it's all Phelan because he goes through and he's not dumb. He knows our personality traits and makes sure we get characters that also fit said personality traits and kind of tailors the characters to fit the scene. So
wait, you're a 13-year-old with an emo haircut? No, you're not.
You don't know me. You don't know me.
Don't try to quantify me.
Well, I think, but he also gave me stats and abilities that progress the storyline, and he knows that I'm one of the types that, from playing Twitch on the Dungeons and Dragons show, Twitch became the de facto face, the de facto leader, and the one that's like, hey, you clowns, let's go, we got a thing to do.
Right.
And I could do okay in that role, so that allows the other panelists to be like, I'm going to be crazy guy, I'm going to be silly, I'm going to kick the door down. Okay, well, I'm going to dictate what we need to do and go. So it's even the more subtle nuances of, okay, cool, we're going to have Dusty Red kind of play that face, that leader type role. That allows us to have Draggor to kind of be the over-the-top role. And then we could have Alkali play the sad or the pity or the funny role. And then we could have John playing the combat guy or the funny, basically physical humor type guy. Drink. And so, the pratfall guy. So, just knowing your player base like that, you're able to angle your characters and write them in that way to allow the players to do that and excel in those things and to keep the show going, to keep it entertaining. That's another thing, too, is we only had 2 hours.
Right.
We have 2 hours to basically sit down, get our character sheet, read, do a scene. Because ultimately what happened is we ordered an Uber, got to the location, opened some doors, got downstairs, and took a hat.
Woo!
That was 2 hours of stuff, though.
Yeah.
So as a DM, as a storyteller, you have to cater it to realize, okay, I got to make sure the story progresses and everything takes place. So you really do have to dumb it down to something as simple as I'm going to go downstairs to my car and get a backpack and bring it up. Can turn into a 3-hour ordeal.
Right. So kind of fast forward to Saturday. We had our show. And obviously, that those listeners that have listened to it know exactly what we did. And
yo, dog, I heard you like listeners. I got some listeners, but you're listening listeners.
So we did our show. It went great.
The beginning was rough.
Only because we had audio.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, but
I learned some lessons.
I feel like from my tech my drama days back in high school and my tech week problems, you always have those hiccups, but it means those hiccups mean you're going to have an ultimately better show because you get those kind of out of the way.
That was a full-blown belch. That wasn't a hiccup. and again, if Silver Gadaman ends up posting it on YouTube, I will see and talk to him about it and see if I could get that and maybe put in the cleaned up, fixed up audio and have the video that way, because...
No, we know from our competition you got to show your ass.
No,
that
I have
is full moonings showing your
and
ass.
I have no problem leaving the intro where the goof ups and stuff were, but if the show is being recorded on the front of a camcorder microphone compared to the actual audio feed we have, we'll see what the sound comes out. So... I'll play with that. We'll see what happens. I like playing with audio now. Damn you, Hammond.
So we got done with that, and we got to kind of catch up with a couple of our listeners, and
a not listener, but a competitor, in fact.
Yeah. So little did we know. I mean, maybe I didn't know it at the time when we were talking about the fact that we would be in Brookfield, Wisconsin, that one of the competitors, unfortunately, someone that wasn't on either of our teams, but Shane, one of our fellow competitors from America's Next Top Podcaster, happened to stop by. And because it's in a hotel, really just kind of came by and messaged us. It was like, oh, I missed your set, but come in, we'll grab a drink, we'll go to the bar and kind of catch up and talk shop.
And explain the weirdness that he's observing. Let's call it for what it is.
And props to Shane for hanging out and just going with the vibe. He actually got to see some of the Draggor show. So he got to see kind of our predecessors, or it's kind of one of the reasons why we got into podcasting.
Yeah, working with the Draggor show for Dungeons and Dragons and behind the scenes stuff with the
kind of lit the flame in you.
Yeah, flame's a good word. But between the Draggor show and then the Spread Thy Wings Kickstarter for Foxamore and Pepper Coyote, like I got kind of bit and was like, I could do a show and it'll be different, but I could still do a show in this vibe and kind of go with my niche interests. And then talking to you about it, like someone who also shares similar interests. And it's one-man shows could be a little boring. You always need to kind of bounce off ideas, and you have a distinct voice as well, and you have distinct opinions, and you are an opinionated redhead. So it's perfect.
So he came and hung out, and it was really good to interact with somebody like that and get his feel for it. And you got, like I said, you guys kind of talked audio shop, and it was a unique experience that, again, had we not done America's Next Top Podcaster, we would not have known that person or been able to invite him into the world of madness and craziness for just a brief moment of time.
And who knows, he may go screaming, running for the hills and be like, nope, never again. Or you get, at least at the minimum, I hope that he could look and go, interesting, okay, you do you. So, I mean, what was the main theme that we learned basically from Draggor on the live interview? Just let people like things.
Yep.
If you like a thing, go for it. I mean, obviously if it's like murder or something, but I mean, you like murder. It's your favorite murder, in fact.
It's true crime. Okay, it's not murder.
Murder's a pretty true crime, I'm just saying.
So we got done with that on Saturday. So basically it was almost like being off at that point because we no longer had anything.
Yeah, all of our paneling was done. Our schedule was done. I realized that'll be free.
You can get that joke now.
Oh, shut up. No, don't. How dare you stand where he's... Anyway, continue. I didn't get there yet.
Not yet. So we were basically off for the evening, enjoyed ourselves, enjoyed the rest of the con. Closing ceremonies came, and some of the stats for it, or statistics for it, is...
No drum roll, because I don't want to mess up the audio, but...
1,000...
That's a bad sound. Disregard that. Edit.
1,259 people registered. Attendees registered. There was 488 super sponsors. And the official numbers for amount raised for Haas was approximately $23,000.
So you had a bunch of nerds in Wisconsin in February managed to raise $23,000 for the Humane Animal Welfare Society, which also announced that they have hit full no-kill status.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest... Closing ceremonies are so weird for me. Again, I'm new to the culture, new to the subculture. There's a lot of in-jokes that don't really get explained, but you just kind of roll with them, and even the charity kind of rolls in and it's an experience is the best I can put it.
Best at chanting. Best at chanting. Yeah, there's literally a chant that they have for best at chanting. Anyway.
It's quirks and inside jokes, and it's an experience. And if anybody goes to any convention like this that would have a closing ceremony, I urge people to check them out, because it really does sum up the good that can come from a weekend of a bunch of people getting together and wearing carpets.
Easy. Ears and tails. Some people have carpets.
So $23,000 given to a shelter that can fully port no-kill status. They are actually now able to have programs to provide animals for mourning, people that have lost animals.
That's what I thought was really neat, was when not only just lost animals, but like lost loved ones.
Yeah.
You'll obviously, the boomer age is kind of all the baby boomers are starting to, and jokes aside, like I know you want to okay boomer me, but I mean, the baby boomers are retiring, they're starting to die out, like they're...
Bad choice of words.
No, it's the actual choice of words. They're dying. They're getting old and they're dying.
They are passing away.
They're dying, okay? Don't try to fluff it up. They're not passing anything. If they're happy if they pass something.
You are horrible.
That's fine. Did it take a year in an episode to realize this?
Go on.
But so you do have the age, of people passing away, and so you find other ways to help people cope with loss. And people find that, not just elderly, but just everyone has a tendency of being receptive to an animal, cat, dog, what have you. So they have dogs that they will specifically bring in during a funeral and such to kind of be a one-night support animal, to be like, hey, I know you're grieving, I know you're dealing with this, but here, pet a kitty, smile. And it's actually
helpful
proven.
Therapy.
Yeah, it's proven to be not only therapeutic, but to lower blood pressure, lower heart rate, help reduce depression and the effects of depression. So the fact that they could turn around and do this and say, no, not only we don't kill our animals, but we also bring these animals and train them to go and be
ambassadors to certain programs.
Because I don't want to say that they're trained to be like support dogs, because obviously they're not trained to be, emotional support animals, which actually isn't a thing, but to be able to, it's not. But you bring them in and they're able to comfort people who are going through things.
Yeah. So it's fun to hear about those types of programs that they are able to do because of the support of FurSquared and really just the charity that the fandom does in general wherever they have conventions. It really is the overarching umbrella or the theme that they all do. I think we heard a story of somebody overhearing that some of the volunteers went skipping through Walmart saying it's the most wonderful time of the year. I think hearing that story kind of just made my heart grow 6 sizes that day.
So it's like a human-sized heart now. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately that was the trip to FurSquared. We can only talk so much about it because it is one of those you have to be there moments. A lot of the things that happen are experiences. A lot of the things that are going on there are very personal. You get to meet friends and meet new people, see old friends, tell stories. I mean, it's a convention, but it's not your typical convention where you're bouncing around like, I want to see this person, I want to see this person. A lot of it's more community. All the con goers are also the panel runners and the hosts. So there's a different vibe of just, oh, hey, so-and-so's here and so-and-so's there. You do you. A lot of the FurCons that I've experienced, at least, is a lot of you do you, go do what you want, and if you want to go and perform some stuff, then, like one of our favorites was Iggy's Cavalcade of Concophony.
I think it's a great note to go out on, just because it's a community of people that are passionate about something. Again, they're all part of the big conglomerate word. Yep, I said conglomerate.
Oh, no.
But they're all part of that bigger world of, yes, I identify as furry, but they all have their own individual passions. And a lot of them do take the time to provide a gateway or a door opening, get your foot in the door to spread that other passion.
Absolutely. And stay tuned with us for next week, as we're going to talk about some new breweries that we tried, some of the best tacos I think I've ever had, and possibly some of the best freaking buffalo wings I've ever had. But since we're talking about passion, we should leave out on the note that we always say at the end of every show, we are all geeks. And to be otherwise may very well mean to live without passion. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Gray Muzzle Geekery with Dusty Red and Dusty White.
You can support our continued geekery at our Patreon website, patreon.com/graymuzzlegeekery. Be sure to check back often as we start to add geek cred levels.
You can send your questions and comments to us at graymuzzlegeekery@gmail.com or find us on Twitter at graymuzzlegeek.
We can be found on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and Buzzsprout.
And a special thank you to Pepper Coyote for our intro theme. And if you like what you heard, you can find more of his stuff on Spotify, Patreon, or directly from his Bandcamp page.